All right, thank you for coming here today to join us at Open Governance AI, Open Governance News. Quickly, will you introduce yourself for everybody so they know who you are?
So my name is Scott Lau. I am running for Sacramento City Council for District 7. I was born and raised in Sacramento to immigrant working class parents. My dad was a waiter. My mom helped out with the restaurant. Money was tight, so whenever my mom did leave to help out with my parents, they left me to my grandparents' house at Wentworth Avenue in Land Park. My grandparents essentially put me under house arrest because the understanding was that if I got sick or hurt, that meant medical bills that, money and time that my parents didn't have. And so it wasn't until, sometime around when I was 5 or 6 years old, my mom took on a job at the USPS, the United States Post Office, as a clerk, when my life changed. And it could be partially due to the fact that a postal clerk is a unionized job. And my life changed from, being that poor kid with hand-me-down clothes to a kid now with, some better looking clothes, but also, regular medical checks and chances to travel, like going to Disneyland as a kid and such. Mm-hmm. So, as time kind of progressed, I've had that time where, that moment in life where I had a hard time finding where I fit in life. My parents wanted me to be a doctor, like almost any immigrant parent would want, but just because they wanted you to do something doesn't mean you could be that person, mm-hmm. right? You gotta find your fit in life. And one of the things that always resonated with me was I want a job or a career that helped people, right? I didn't know where it was. Was it to become a police officer? Was it to be a teacher? Was it to be something, right? And one of the, I feel like it was just by luck that I found a career in urban planning, because what I do for work now, I'm making a difference in people's lives. The way we plan cities, the way we design streets, the way things are placed. They're not by accident. It's by lots of studies, lots of research, lots of discussion. So that's a little bit about myself, and I'm running for the city because I'm from District 7. I grew up in District 7. I went to local public schools there. That's where a lot of my memories were made. All my family lives there. So all my friends live there. So a lot of the things that I've seen it all. I've seen it when it was, going good when I was a kid, and now I'm 34 years old in District 7, and there's, issues that I want to fix and bring up.
Great, thank you for that. So was there any particular thing that inspired you to run, or was it just in general all the things you just mentioned?
More so specifically, as I am getting older, so are my parents. My parents are, just like any elderly person, as you get older, a lot of your vision, a lot of your hearing starts to deteriorate or kind of get bad. And when it comes to it, looking at District 7, the layout, we have a lot of really bad conditioned streets. We have a lot of empty stores. We have to drive very far to get to places. And so when it comes to, for example, I want to take my parents out to eat dinner at night, 7 p.m. But a lot of restaurants in our area are closed now. We have to go to other parts of town. And especially at night, given the situation that what I just told you about how I'm concerned for my parents' safety, driving at night, or even inviting other family friends who are also of their age, right? That I care about their well-being. I care about, is it going to be safe for them to get to that restaurant that I, picked on the other side of town because there's nothing else nearby. Mm-hmm. So that's something that kind of inspired me to run, because I care about my family. Yes, it's a very selfish thing, but also I think a lot of people can relate on my level about how they also care about their parents or their family or their loved ones or family and friends.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so let me ask you, Rick Jennings has represented this
District since 2014.
what is the single most important unmet need in the district today that you believe requires a change in leadership
Rather than a continuation of the status quo.
I think a single most important unmet need is affordability. And that's one of my platform in my campaign is safety, affordability, and small business. In 2022, our District 7 was there was a redistricting, and they pretty much put all the rich neighborhoods into my district. And in a outside third-person perspective, we're all rich, so there must be no unmet need, right? And that's not true. We know very well that every neighborhood has somebody struggling. I don't know you, and you don't know me, but we all have different situations, different personal lives, and personal financial situations. Some people might be late on a credit card payment. Some people's rent or mortgage is higher than someone else's across the street. We just don't know everybody's situation, and for you to say, for anyone to say, oh, that's Greenhaven or that's Land Park, they're all rich, there's no unmet need in that neighborhood, I personally can say no, there is. There's a lot of people who are struggling to pay rent, struggling to make their bills out. They are trying to get by in life. We have a lot of apartments. Is it fair to say everyone living in apartments right now is not struggling in my neighborhood? No, they are. There's at least a handful of people who are struggling. So to answer your question, I think that the single most important unmet need in my district is the affordability element. Being able to afford, keep up with rent or mortgage and the transportation costs and utilities and internet. A lot of people talk about work from home or remote learning, or broadband is a big issue now. Is there a regulating element where internet monthly cost can stay $50 a month, or has it been going up or down, right? That's something to also think about, because broadband is not a luxury anymore, it's an essential commodity for us now.
Right. Okay. Do you just happen to know what the demographic is kind of in your neighborhood, like as far as like generational, are there more people who are like in a certain like 50s, 60s or something, or we know seniors, that they could be on a fixed income. So it sounds like it could be a huge deal, with affordability if you're on a fixed income.
Absolutely, right. So like, according to certain statistics that I've read and researched around my district, about 60% of my district is 65 and or older. And so that element, almost more than half of my district could be retired, but in our era now, a lot of people who have retired are still working as well. So again, we don't know their situations, we don't know their financial positions, right? Some people could be 70 years old and still working. Some people could be 70 and retired and living well in their finances, right? So you just can't assume, you can't lump everyone and say, yes, all of these neighborhoods in this one district is all rich and doing really well, that we don't have to pay attention to the things that they need anymore, right? And it's not all that well, actually. There's a lot of situations where I can point out to that is neglected, is blighted. There's a lot of empty stores. There's a lot of things that we need to improve or fix in my neighborhood.
All right,
thank you for that. Let me ask you, just real quickly, I get back to Rick again. Is there any particular issue that he has voted on in the past that you would have voted on differently?
I mean, so there's a lot of things that he votes on that are outside of my district, right? And that's the one thing that if I were to become a city council member, that I would want to focus my time and energy on is things and issues and things in my district. I see, like, let's just say on the news right now recently that there's the District 1 microhomes issue right now, and I see his name in that bill that's where the city's trying to withdraw, or they're trying to withdraw that bill. But there's issues like that too, that where I'm like, well, in our district we have to have someone that could, put more attention, more energy on in our district. We have our problems too. And so you don't see other districts, council members putting their hands or their names into my district, District 7. But so in essence, I kind of, if I were to become a city council member, I want to be that person that focuses on our problems, our constituents, our issues, our concerns. I want to be that guy that is there for my people, because ultimately, at the end of the day, District 7, the people who live in District 7 are the ones who are going to vote me in office, right? Not the people in District 1, not in District 8, District 7. So as I am highlighting the issues, some of the issues I might actually touch base on might be relevant to someone in District 5, District 4, but I'm bringing up the issues specifically for my district.
Great.
The place I came from. So,
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, Scott.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on a little bit to another subject. Okay, you've stated that District 7's infrastructure was built for a different era. For specific corridors like Freeport Boulevard or Florin Road, what smart urban planning interventions would you prioritize in your first 100 days?
So a lot of these neighborhoods or a lot of these corridors were built in an era when maybe there weren't that many people driving. They weren't driving as fast. Maybe they weren't driving, the car sizes were not as big. A lot of different factors. And a lot of these streets are built in that era. And so when I say the time frames and stuff, we also talk about speeding, the speed, the behavior of drivers, the behavior of people of the day. Those are times that we need to update and improve. So like, for example, there might be 4-way stop sign intersections that at that time, stop signs were a good traffic control measure. But now with the amount of people living in our area, with the amount of cars, that stop sign intersection might need to be upgraded or improved. And I see something like a roundabout, because let's just say that there's a lot of complaints where cars aren't even stopping for a stop sign, they're just running it. Well, a roundabout would solve the issue, because it's not necessarily requiring the driver to full stop, but it does cause the driver to slow down for a roundabout. Or let's just say there's a crosswalk that, at one point you could actually cross the street quite easily. But with today's amount of people, today's trends, that crosswalk would be the worst place to cross the street at, because now you have to you're crossing more than 4 lanes and looking both sides on, very fast drivers, right? So maybe there's another thing that we could revamp, redo, reconsider, even repaint some of the streets to make it a safer crosswalk, a safer street, a safer intersection. So when it comes to going back to like the infrastructure revival, we have to go back and kind of rethink, replay, redesign, relook at essential streets, corridors, because the era has, evolved into or out of its use.
Have you noticed anything related to, even with accessibility, that you would want to, improve on?
Accessibility, absolutely. Like there's going back to the crosswalk elements. There's also ADA ramps. There's also just being able to bike to a place, right? Because at the same time, we have to look back at how old District 7 is, right? Land Park. When were those homes built? In the 40s and 50s, maybe 60s. How about in Greenhaven Pocket? Those were built in the 80s. When you think about these times, were bikes part of the equation? And if not, then we've included them in an area that wasn't even meant or built with the mindset that bikes were going to be there, right? And so could there be a redesign? Could there be a restripe? Could there be something of a, an exception or a exemption where we could allow these types of infrastructures in? And I'm going to go back to going back to it is that, we have a bike trail that was promised to us for 50 years. That's a long time. And a lot of people who have moved into Greenhaven area in the 80s probably saw a brochure that said, hey, there's going to be a bike trail here. And a lot of people probably, that was an essential item that they were like, hey, I would like to, recreate, go biking, enthusiasts, be over there, right? And they were never given that yet. Even the bike trail is making progress, but hasn't been completed. It's not a full connection yet. And so that's something that I want to, really emphasize in. Like, we've had this unfinished project for over 50 years. Really needs it. I mean, people in the community have lived, have passed away or moved on, and still have not seen what they moved into the community for.
Right. Do you have any idea why it's taken so long and you're still waiting on that bike trail?
Well, there comes a lot of pushback, whether it be a lot of communities have been built during that time, and different people have different security needs, whether it be there's neighborhoods and gated communities that are encroaching or have are adjacent to this bike trail that have also their security concerns. There's people who want to address that there's property rights as well. So those are a lot of clarifications, a lot of things that need to be redrawn, clarified. That has to be kind of pretty much say there's a lot of things that there's a lot of history that hasn't been resolved, right? And so right now is the time to go and say, hey, I know this is a very difficult conversation. It's gonna rock someone's boat hard, but this is what's going on right now. We need to get over this, right? This isn't like, let's just say I kick the can down the road for another 4 years. In the next 4 years, it's gonna come back up again. So are we gonna play this game of just kicking the can every 4 years? Or can we actually sit down and make some meaningful conversations where, okay, what's your concern about this? How can we mitigate this together so that we can still build this bike trail and not have to erode anyone's trust, right?
Yeah, that's good, thank you. Okay, moving on. Your platform mentions that most calls in the district stem from homelessness and mental health. What specific coordinated approach would you implement to reduce the burden on traditional law enforcement while actually improving street safety?
Part of my platform, as I kind of introduce myself, is that there's a lot of broken streets, there's a lot of empty stores, and there's a lot of nothing to do. So when we talk about empty storefronts, I go back to the permits in our city, the permit issues. And so when you want to move into, let's just say you want to move into a vacant unit or building, and you want to build a laundromat, or you want to build or move in a restaurant, you want to open something, you have to go through the city to get a permit or a license or an okay from the city before you can move on to the next. And that's what's slowing everyone down. For example, older buildings get grandfathered in, whether it becomes upgrading to like their fire sprinklers, or a lot of their windows have to be upgraded, or electrical or plumbing has to be upgraded. But if you've been around for a long time, you get grandfathered in so that you don't have to do that anymore. However, when the restaurant closes, whether or not the owner retires, or maybe this business just wasn't successful, and you want to move a new one in, now it's on you to have to retrofit everything. and that's what's slowing everyone down. That includes fires. I mean, you name it: fire sprinklers, plumbing, whether it be the paint or the windows, like the sustainability elements, the energy efficiency standards and such. New homes need to have solar panels now, so that's something that has to also be added into the equation too. And if you wanted to buy a house, but not going there yet, but like that's a different subject. But there's a lot of things that you have to bring up in order to bring this business up to code before you could even start buying your restaurant equipment or your, making any money. So that's what's stopping a lot of businesses from opening. And when no businesses open, homeless, loiterers, vandals, they start seeing these as opportunities to move in now because nobody's monitoring it. And when more and more of these groups of people start hanging out at these shopping centers, it creates an unsafe environment for me and you to go and shop at that shopping center. And as a result, because of that changed consumer behavior, other businesses start losing money and going, folding up and shop. So when it comes to these types of security issues, I have, my idea is, can we deploy a layered security system? Every shopping center should have at least a security guard. Let's just say a shopping center is like those smaller ones that just, they can't afford one. Like a security guard's expensive, right? And they can't ask any of their businesses for a $100 or $200 per month fee to keep up the place. There could be a network of security guards that could work together, perhaps. Maybe there's one security guard that patrols the whole corridor, right? And that if there is an incident, rather than go to the police for, calling the police just to escort a homeless person out of the restaurant, you can call the security guard. So now we don't have to waste police resources, armed officers, to deal with homeless, just because they're loitering, or just to ask them to, be escorted to the sidewalk. They can have their own security guard, private security guard, that will respond for those events. That way we can save police resources who are, often saying that they have staffing shortages. In addition, the security guard, promotes more of the consumer confidence, consumer safety in the shopping center, so that more people will be going there safer, less worried, feel more comfortable in the neighborhood.
Yeah, so there is a possibility that you can entertain ways to incentivize business owners into improving the security of those areas, so people want to come and shop there.
Right. Because even a security guard, just being there, even though he's unarmed, just somebody watching would help you and I and anyone else feel safe shopping or patronizing the center, the commercial center, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and let's face it, if it's not a safe neighborhood, other people are going to go shop elsewhere.
Absolutely.
And you're going to lose, the local businesses are going to lose money, and nobody's just going to want to be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
You get it.
All right, great. Let's talk a little bit about Land Park and its public spaces, okay? There's been community petitions regarding safety and access in William Land Park. How do you balance the park's role as a regional destination with the safety and quality of life concerns for the immediate neighbors?
So just like any other regional park of its size, I'm thinking about Balboa Park. Maybe Balboa Park's bigger than William Land Park, but Balboa Park or San Francisco's Golden Gate Park, they have people or city patrols to make sure that the park is safe, it's orderly, people are there's nothing out of the ordinary going on, making sure it's clean and everything. So we need to maintain that safety element, that to have safety patrols in our parks too. This is really important, because the thing about it is to make sure that everyone is still following park rules is essential, because once that park gets a bad rap about safety, don't go there, it's not safe, a lot of people will desert that place. I mean, William Land Park has the zoo, it has Fairy Tale Town, a children's theme park, right? We want to protect that identity there, that it's a safe place for kids. It's a safe place for anyone of all ages to hang out at. There's people who play sports there. They're in baseball or soccer, golf even. So I mean, as a person that's running for city council, I want to make sure that park is safe and welcoming for everyone. So in order to do that, I want to increase or maintain safety patrols. It doesn't have to be police. It could just be a unarmed volunteer, just running through it, just to make sure, or a city worker that will, a park staff that will, clean up the trash over there, or keep check of the public restrooms there that are clean and it's maintained. Because any little speck that aspect of that that place is not safe, or you shouldn't bring your kids there, or all these complaints that might arise from these types of things, that where the city's not maintaining this park well or whatever, it will reflect and it will really backfire on us as as trying to keep this as a regional destination, as a place for people to want to go there to hang out at and stuff.
Right. Okay. And speaking of too, I've heard before too that the zoo has considered relocating, or even I guess some of the infrastructure there is outdated and stuff. Do you have anything you'd want to share about maybe working with those kind of local partners to kind of keep them in Land Park? And what are your thoughts on that?
So I am actually a zoo member.
Okay.
I support zoos. I have a membership with the zoo. What actually got me started was I became a member at the Fresno Zoo, the Chaffee Zoo. We see some billboards around town about that. But they have a affiliation network with the Sacramento Zoo as well. And so when you compare other zoos, right, Fresno Zoo, the Fresno Zoo is probably the one that I like to put neck to neck with, because Fresno Zoo also is in a park similar size of our William Land Park. They expand. They have city's permission to expand their grounds. So there's always facilities for the Fresno Zoo to constantly be growing. They have a safari. They're really proud of it and whatnot. But in our Sacramento Zoo, it feels kind of landlocked, that they don't have, they've expressed interest to expand, but there's also some pushback by the neighborhood about that expansion. And so that's what's causing the zoo, the Sacramento Zoo, to want to move out to a more modernized, maybe with more space, so they can add more animals, more exhibits to us, right, to the public. So there has to be some sort of, we need to start talking about these things, because that's what's that's what's causing the whole erosion between the Sacramento Zoo and the city. It's like they want to expand, they want to have more animals, they want to modernize, they want to be more attractive, more of a world zoo, a national level zoo, but we're stopping them. So what is something that we can do as a city that we could still achieve the same result and keep them there, but at the same time promote the community's appeal for the zoo. So there's lots of communication, lots of talking, but this is where what I want to do is I want to be able to communicate with people. I want to be there. I want to listen. I want to stand up. I want to collaborate. There's a lot of problems in our neighborhood, but you need a council member that will show up, listen, and collaborate, willing to collaborate and talk. So I want to be that person.
Great, thanks, Scott. So before we close up, I guess there is one more question I'll ask you. You've compared managing city funds to managing a household budget. In a deficit year, what specific wasteful spending would you target first to ensure District 7 gets its fair share of infrastructure dollars?
Well, just like the bike trail that's been going on for 50 years, right? Every 10 years or so, we need another new study. We need to study the bike trail it's an environmental impact report, and all these other different nexuses, because as government entities, we need to provide proof, nexuses, to why we're doing something.
Environmental reviews.
Right. So when it comes to repaving a road, when it comes to a highway interpath or a new interchange, or an improvement, a traffic improvement, whether it be traffic lights or a traffic circle, or we have to provide justification before we spend commit tax dollars, money into it, right? And so for something like the bike trail that's been around for like 50 years or been promised to us for 50 years, can you imagine how many studies we've renewed over and over again just so that we could say, yes, we need this bike trail? That's a lot of money that we just spent that could have been on a restriping project on the road, or it could have been on, a rehab project, could have been a community, get together, or improvement, a town hall or something, right? So these are things that we're wasting money on all these studies, but no result. Mm-hmm. So one thing is that I want to keep bringing back is what I'll do is, can we start making progress on these studies that we've done over the years and start actually delivering a real product so that us people living in District 7 can see, can use, and can be proud of.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks a lot. Thanks for your time again, and we'll see you again in the future, and good luck with your campaign.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Scott.
Absolutely.
Take care.